Welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you every week from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the wasteful ice of the Galactic Empire. Join your hosts, John Mark Tolley, Garrett K. Jones, and Brian Karasik, as they discuss the various facets of the saga's lore, characters, review the films, and discuss every tidbit of news coming out of Lucasfilm. And remember, this isn't just my Star Wars, this isn't just your Star Wars, this is our Star Wars.
Boa to War of the Stars, una Star Wars Basadi. So, if you're wondering what that means, that is welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast in Huttese. Today
That's
we're
pretty
going
good because what I strung together for our short last week was just a couple of words in Huttese that had nothing to do with the show.
God bless AI. I just typed in, how do you say welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast in Huttese? And within a few seconds.
That's awesome.
But today we are going to be talking. Yesterday we talked about the Hutts in general. And
Yes.
Today we are going to be talking about hold on, I'm trying to figure something out. This man right here, Jabba the Hutt. That is Jabba, right?
Only certainly ain't no pizza. No, that is totally not Jabba the Hutt.
If you know,
you know. You did there.
Yes. Again, if you know, you know.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, yes, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Who was parodied beautifully in Spaceballs as Pizza the Hutt.
Yes, he was, by the late great Dom DeLuise.
Yes. And dude, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but were they actually eating pieces of that costume?
It looked like it.
It's really hard to tell.
Came up with the best line of or else pizza we'll take out for you.
Right. Oh man. So Jabba the Hutt, man. This guy, like, he gets mentioned in the first film.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Sorry. I had a little. I did. Yeah, he gets mentioned in the first film.
And then we finally get to see him in Return of the Jedi, but then he was brought back into the special editions of A New Hope. And what's interesting is, until they had the puppet version of Jabba the Hutt, they initially, when there was a scene cut from the original film where Jabba was played by Declan Mulholland as
I remember
human.
that. Yeah, with an Irish accent. Yeah. It's so weird that could have been what we had as Jabba.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting setup. But yeah, eventually they went with the puppet route for Return of the Jedi because that worked better in camera, and I think it added to the fantasy element of the world. And it was really kind of cool. Like, I just remember he was just big, and like he kind of reminded me of like a mixture between a frog and a worm.
Very, very slug-like.
Yeah, very slug-like.
With little arms. I mean, we touched a little bit on it last week of just the overall, just the gross, like kind of the grossness of him. He was just kind of big, beast, and but at the same time was kind of terrifying. I mean, for just to think that someone has that much power, that they can basically just lounge around and do nothing, but still instill terror and fear on everyone around them and get people to do whatever they want.
Yeah, this is our thumbnail for this week, and I gotta say, like, just this image right here. I don't know where this image came from. I think it was like cover art for one of the Dark Horse books. But like the slime, the saliva just coming out, his tongue sticking out of the side, like the wonky nostrils, like there is something incredibly grotesque about this, and it just like it makes him such a vile character.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The vile gangster, Jabba the Hutt, or as he would be officially known as in Huttese, Jabba the Hutt Teru. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. That is his actual name. His full name.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce that.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I tried to. I apologize to all the Hutts out there or speakers of Huttese.
It was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Mike. You don't have to really apologize. They're not watching this.
Well, one thing we didn't really touch on that we didn't really touch on something we didn't really touch on last week when we were talking about the Hutts with the power of the Hutts, and especially particularly Jabba, is the fact that when you get to the Outer Rim, Huttese, besides basic, Huttese is the language franca of a lot of the galaxy.
Yeah, it is.
And even people that aren't Hutts speak Huttese, which just shows you the power and influence they have, that they can, wield that much influence that the majority of the galaxy either speaks it as a first or second language, or knows how to speak it.
Right. And what I think is kind of cool is that because it kind of reminds me of like I don't know, like it feels very much in the line of Dungeons and Dragons in that regard, because like in Dungeons and Dragons, everyone's got some basic understanding of Elvish as a secondary language, or maybe it's Orc, or maybe it's Goblin, or whatever. There's always a second language that someone understands. And I think I thought it was really cool that they did that. Like, I didn't even think about that as being like as being a lingua franca until you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, especially you get out into the Outer Rim and that area, and everybody speaks Huttese, whether they speak it as a main language or they at least know how to speak it, because you have to get around.
True, but what's interesting though is, you look at the characters who speak mostly basic. Yeah. What they understand are just the same as in any language. When you're first learning, they understand the slang words, they understand the cuss words.
Yes.
And you see that in extensive use in episode 1 when Anakin is walking around, talking with Watto, or he's talking with all of his buddies and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, let's kind of get a little bit more into Jabba, what we kind of know about him through the movies and other.
Well, I mean, I never really, as a kid growing up, it didn't really click in my head that he was I knew he was a bad guy. I just didn't recognize, what made him such a bad guy. I didn't realize he was a criminal, overlord or anything like that. Yeah. So that it wasn't until I was in my teens that I realized that he was essentially like the godfather of basically a mob boss.
Yeah, he's from a crime family. Yeah, he's like you say, he's basically the Godfather. He's what's his name's character from the Godfather?
Yeah, Marlon Brando.
Just there's no other kids to we see children later on.
Yeah,
with Rhoda, but yeah, and
I'm kind of curious to see, because for the most part, Tatooine was under Hutt control. It was under Jabba's control up until the events of Return of the Jedi. And what's the crazy thing is how much like his palace was huge. Like he had a dungeon, he had a room for torturing just about everybody, including droids.
Mm-hmm.
He it was large enough to accommodate a rancor,
Yes.
and which was given to him as a gift.
What do you get the Hutt who has everything?
Dude, right? Another meal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had Twi'leks working for him. He had Rhodians working for him. He had Devaronians working for him. He had, I mean, one of his key bounty hunters was Bosk, a Trandoshan. And so you could you could already see the list of organizations and people that were in his pocket, which is kind of cool. And even the Empire really didn't want to deal with him.
No. I mean, they were more than happy to just, as long as he wasn't interfering with their business, they wouldn't interfere with his. It seemed to be kind of the view, and we even see that with the Republic during the Clone Wars is kind of the same thing, where they kind of had you stay in your lane, we'll stay in our lane.
Well, and because the Republic had a tenuous hold on the Outer Rim anyway. I mean, once you get past the mid rim, at that point, it's the Wild West in space, and good luck trying to hold on to anything, because that's just the thing with any, whether it's an empire or republic, whatever you want to call the government. That's one of the reasons why that kind of colonialism, that kind of consolidation of power doesn't work. Like, I mean, look at the British Empire. Their empire covered a third of the world. A third of the world. And they had Australia, New Zealand, India, parts of Africa. They had access to Hong Kong, Canada, the United States, South Africa to an extent. I mean, they had control over huge swaths of territory. Between them, the French, and the Spanish, those were the three countries that had built the biggest empire, in the last 500 to 600 years.
Yeah.
The only thing that would have dwarfed them would have been the Mongol Empire, and had the Mongols had ships, they probably would have gone to other places as well. But the larger your territory, the harder it is to control. We see that with Rome.
Oh yeah,
That's
definitely.
Why Rome fell.
It got too big. Yeah,
got too big, and then you had too many people inside vying for control.
Yeah,
and we see that happen with the Republic. You had all these territories that were like, "Hey, leave us alone. We want to be independent. We want to break away because there's stuff going on in the Republic we don't trust." And meanwhile, I mean, you have all these territories that are out in the Outer Rim, and they were okay with, I mean, despite all the crap that was going on, they were okay with the Hutts, because the Hutts kept things more or less peaceful. I mean, you abide by the Hutts, you're good.
Yeah.
Since we're in spooky season, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
What scared you the most about Jabba the Hutt as a kid?
I wouldn't say scared me, but the slime. Like, I've never really liked slimy things, so it was just the sliminess and that scene when he's talking with Leia, where he's captured Leia, and Leia is in the slave outfit, and he pulls her close, and he pulls her close to him and licks his lips. That always just gives me like shivers down my spine. It's like, oh,
it's like saying the word moist.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, because and especially as you get older, you realize like, oh, what's he doing? What's he doing with her? Which makes his death whenever Leia kills him, the much more like cathartic, and you're just like, oh yeah. Honestly, that whole scene, yeah, that the Rancor, that still kind of can get me. That's the only part of Jedi that scares my daughter is the
Really?
Rancor. Yeah, she doesn't like the Rancor.
I think the thing that scared me the most was probably the Rancor scene. That did terrify me. But I honestly think that as an adult, I've come to appreciate just the level of disgustingness and grotesquerie that Jabba represents. Because you see some really interesting villains written through film and television, like Game of Thrones. Joffrey Baratheon was such a well written antagonist character that that people who watched the show hated the actor so much that he retired for 10 years. So Jack Gleason, the actor who played him, he retired as soon as they killed off Joffrey on Game of Thrones. He stepped away from the limelight, and it's only been in the last 10 year or in the last year that he started going back out and doing stage and TV and stuff in the UK. And I know that he's got another project coming out soon. That's a really big project, but that's how well written the character was. And you see that again with I can't remember there's another modern character that's been out lately that people really loathe, but that's the thing that stands out for me is that Jabba is such a pretty well rounded character that you get with. I mean, he's only in a few minutes of the entire trilogy, and you get a strong sense of him. Like the scene that they added back into A New Hope, they make him seem like he's a really nice guy. Like he wants to play nice with Han, but that scene comes after he's already sent Greedo to try and
kill him,
get the bounty and kill him. And Greedo, Greedo wasn't actually sent by Jabba. He just took on the contract, and Greedo got a little too greedy. But you could see that Jabba's like he's trying to make peace with Han to an extent. It's like, dude, just come on, give me the money, give me the money.
Yeah, you come on. Yeah,
like
but you also get the sense of, because what we see later in of Jabba later on, I think you also get the sense that if Han had given him the money, Jabba would have just turned right around and killed him anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because and I kind of hinted at, I kind of talked about this earlier, but one of the things, and I just tried to figure out the words to elaborate more on it, was the fact that despite the fact that pretty much, Leia killed him by strangling him, and there was enough people in there that one of them could have easily taken Jabba out. But he held so much power and sway that none of them ever dared to do it, because what if they failed? Then you face the wrath of Jabba.
Exactly.
That he could be almost completely immobile at that point by the time we see him in.
And no one wants to mess with him.
And no one wants to mess with him. Because he's also smart in the fact that he kind of almost did what the Emperor did, was playing everyone against each other.
He doesn't really go to that extent, but you can see, like, he allows people to, he baits traps for sure. Like he anticipated, after he got that first message from Luke, he anticipated getting an actual visit from Luke. And it was just the first, he knew.
He knew that Leia was going to come in.
R2-D2 and C-3PO are well known. Luke is well known at this point. His name has been spreading through the galaxy. He obviously knows the connection between Han and Leia and Chewbacca.
Oh yeah, he knew when she came in as the bounty hunter. You can just see, you almost think Jabba's going, seriously, she's doing this. Right. You almost get the sense that he almost was insulted. Like, really? Okay, I'll play along.
We're gonna do this, okay?
All right.
And so he when he springs the trap on Leia, he knew that what she was there for.
Yeah. Same thing with Luke. It's like,
Well, and the fun thing is if you look at Shadows of the Empire, Leia gets the Bouche costume from Prince Shizor and specifically his android assistant Guri. Guri gives her the costume and says these were from an Ubesian bounty hunter named Bouche that that was killed on the job. Well, guess who Bouche used to work for?
Jabba.
Exactly. And so like with any bounty hunter or any warrior or whatever, armor and the tools that you use are usually indicative of the person wearing it.
Mm-hmm.
And Bouche, let me see if I can find a picture of Bouche as of Bouche. Now, granted, the costume is different, but I want to see if I can find Ubesian. So the Ubes or the Ubesians are share screen. Boom, boom. Here we go. Come on. There we go. Load up. This is obviously what the Bouche costume looks like, the armor and everything. But they weren't human. They were kind of near human or something like that.
Yeah.
But they had obviously Leia fit the build and everything because they look very slender and stuff like that. But you can tell a difference between the Ubesian, how they operate, and how a human would operate.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
And Jabba knew. Jabba absolutely knew.
Yeah, Jabba was very intelligent. But think about it. You can't grow a criminal empire of that magnitude without being very, very intelligent, very cunning, very even in a weird way wise. You have to be streetwise and yeah.
And the fact that he was able to just acquire the wealth that he did. I mean, obviously the Hutts, as a clan, they amass wealth, but the fact that he was able to control what he was doing away from Nal Hutta and away from the Smuggler's Moon, it makes it's insane to think that he wasn't a smart being.
Oh yeah. It's also interesting that he's also smart enough not to follow, because you have a feeling from what you see from other Hutts that they're very susceptible to being, what's the word I'm looking for, of people overly praising them and falling into that, like, oh, you're so wonderful.
Oh yeah, they love the flattery.
But when Luke started to do it, Jabba was smart enough to be like, yeah, I'm not falling for it. Because he was
that's not how a Jedi would operate.
Yeah. Is the great and mighty Jabba, and Jabba just like, yeah, I'm not having it. Yeah, just nice try, kid. But yeah. What else could we talk about with Jabba?
So I think a great question would be is how do you feel how do you think things have played out since Return of the Jedi, since Jabba's death, with that imbalance of power and that power vacuum? Like, how do you think things played out? Because we haven't seen anything talked about that. Like, we've had the Mandalorian, which has had multiple adventures on Tatooine.
Yeah.
So we've seen Tatooine as it's become. We've had what's happened with
we had Book of Boba Fett
kind of touches on it a little bit, because obviously in the power vacuum, Bib Fortuna takes over what he was doing.
Yeah, and we kind of get a sense that from that, as problematic as Book of Boba Fett was, I think one thing we see very, very from the very start was that he was not able to. Bib Fortuna was not even close to being able to fill Jabba's shoes.
Oh no! Yeah.
And as problematic as Jabba was with his rule of Tatooine, you get a sense that things probably were a little bit better under Jabba. He is able to keep order and keep peace, and yes, it was through fear of him, but he still was able to maintain some sort of control, and Bib was not able to do that. Bib gave in to his vices. I think that's it. Is for all the vices that Jabba had, Jabba still maintained control, and Bib Fortuna gave in to his vices.
And I
completely.
I think that speaks. It's interesting because Orn Free-Taa, the Rylothian senator, he grew fat on the excesses, literally. And we see the same thing happen with Bib Fortuna. You get into that position of power, and instead of being the slim, athletic, strong Twi'lek that you are, you give into those excesses and you get lazy. Meanwhile, the people on Ryloth are starving. They're trying to do what they're doing. They're enslaved because of their sensuality and stuff like that. And it's brutal.
Yeah.
Where was Orn Free-Taa in trying to stop that slave trade? He wasn't. So
exactly.
It kind of leaves me wondering how, because we obviously know that with the Mandalorian and Grogu film coming out in May, that we're going to see Rhoda the Hutt returning to take over. And it makes me wonder, why so long? Why did he have to wait so long after his father passed away? Was it because he was not fit enough? Was it because he was not old enough? What's the deal? Because based on what we're seeing in that teaser trailer the other week, he is ripped.
Yeah.
And he could have easily shown up and ripped off Bib Fortuna's head without even blinking an eye.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll find out. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe he thought Tatooine was too small of, maybe he was looking for something bigger. Who knows? Maybe we have a situation where we have the rare situation where Rhoda turns out to be not a villain.
It would be
interesting. Maybe he's going to be an ally. Maybe he didn't want to go into the criminal business. And we see him in what looks like a fighting pit. Maybe that's maybe for whatever reason he decided, I like fighting more than this, so I'm going to be basically a gladiator.
And what it also could be is that maybe his experiences being rescued by Ahsoka and Anakin and Kenobi may have influenced the direction of his life. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's still going to be interesting to see.
It will be, definitely.
So I'm kind of tapped out for thoughts on this.
Yeah, I am too.
Are there any? The one thing I do want to say is that when granted, I get that they were trying to play around with the computer generated imagery, because like in 1997 we hadn't seen anything like that fully rendered the way that that we got in 1999 with Jar Jar Binks. But like in the it's kind of like, it's almost like it's like the Wish version of Jabba the Hutt, like the good version, the really like deluxe version came from Return of the Jedi because it was practical effects. When we get the Wish Timu version.
Yeah, the Jabba we have Jabba at home.
Right? He looks like that derpy Halloween costume. It looks like Jabba, but it's not really Jabba.
It's not Jabba, is it though? But yeah.
Wow. I think we do. He does show up in the Clone Wars, and it's really cool how that was done. What's interesting though is, like, we talked about how he was played in originally, but are you aware that Ed Asner voiced Jabba in the original trilogy radio dramatization?
Really?
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. Looking at the appearances, and it says that Jabba is voiced by Ed Asner in the radio dramatizations of the original trilogy.
Wow.
Yeah, so I kind of want to find that.
I do too.
I really want to find that.
So here's my question, because I've seen two versions of a few different versions of Return of the Jedi, obviously. And do you like the ones with the subtitles or not? When Jabba, because there's ones that have the subtitle. I've seen most of them. You have the subtitles on the bottom when Jabba speaks that show it in English, but there are some where there are no subtitles. It's just
like
Jabba talking.
I think the original print of Return of the Jedi, like the version that came out in 1983 and eventually went to VHS, I don't remember there being any subtitles.
Yeah, because for most of the time when he was talking, he was being translated by 3PO.
Right, or yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
Or when 3PO and R2D2 are translating at the beginning, like it was 3PO's responses
that gave you the indication of what was context. Yeah, what was being said.
And I kind of like that, but at the same time, I mean, like, they're going to do what they're going to do, and we live in a day and age where a lot of audience members don't pick up on context as easily. But that's just me.
True.
But you know how we've made the connection back to Jabba and the Godfather.
Yes.
Well, according to there's a film historian, Laurent Bouzereau, or I'm probably butchering it because it's French, but Leia strangling Jabba was actually inspired by a scene in the 1972 Godfather film where Luca Brasi is garroted by an assassin.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of overlay between Jabba and some of the other characters from the Godfather, and I think that's really kind of cool.
Definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of anything else. Can you?
Not really.
What do we got on? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that, like, I mean, as cool as like Jabba is one of those characters, like you don't have to say much about him just because he is such a larger than life character, and you
do you think he's reached that level that even if you're not necessarily a fan of Star Wars, you kind of know the name Jabba the Hutt? Has he reached Darth Vader?
I think if you've seen at least Return of the Jedi, you're familiar with who the character is. But I can tell you right now that if I were to talk Star Wars with the students that I work with now, like if it's not a character that's regularly being promoted by Disney right now or Lucasfilm, they probably aren't going to even pay attention.
Because I was wondering if he's reached like Vader level as far as being like,
Vader's
iconic. Where
and you can't like part of it has to do with how things have been promoted over the last few years. Vader is the most iconic character. That's why like boxes of the cover art for some of the newer boxes back in the 90s and the early 2000s for like special editions and stuff like that. That's why they had Vader prominent in. I mean, you even go back to the original poster, and the original poster has Vader very prominent in the promotion. Jabba the Hutt, he's nowhere on the poster, and he shows up for all of 10 minutes of screen time, if that. So unfortunately, I wouldn't say he's got the icon status, but I think there are people who have a passable enough knowledge of the original trilogy, or who are fans that would know who you're talking about. And if you were to drop the name Jabba, they'll get that reference. And if you say something along the lines of Pizza the Hutt, they'll get the parody.
Yeah. Hold on.
So, but I like how he's a character who is. I mean, the only way he's really deceptive is in letting people think that he's dumb and easily underestimated, and he really isn't. Like that. Everything else about him is transparent. He doesn't care how fat he is. He doesn't care how disgusting he is. He doesn't care what his excesses are. He knows how to use those to kind of trap everybody else.
Well, what do we have on tap for next week?
For next week, that's a very, very good question. Next week, we are going to be talking about tech talk. We're jumping in and we're talking hyperdrives.
Why did you sound like a little bit almost like Mr. Sulu there for a second?
I don't know. I was just riffing.
Yeah. I just oh my. Interesting enough, I just looked it up. Jabba has approximately 3 minutes and 32 seconds of screen time.
3 minutes and how many seconds?
32 seconds of him actually being
And that's from Return of the Jedi, or is that total throughout the franchise?
That's Return of the Jedi.
Okay, because I know he's got more between the quick scene that we see of him in A New Hope, the scene that we have of him in Phantom Menace, what we see of him in the Clone Wars. He's got way more screen time than just 3.5 minutes.
We always talk about Boba. Boba has 1 minute and 16 seconds of screen time in Return of the Jedi.
And he's got slightly more in Empire Strikes Back. You combine those two together, it's still less than Jabba.
That's over 20 different segments. 1 minute.
Right? And yet, Boba Fett, more iconic. Why?
Oh, man. There's one more thing I gotta. Hold on.
There's one more thing. What?
I gotta look up. All right, I look up this. Boba Fett has 4 lines of dialogue.
4.
He has 1 line of dialogue in Return of the Jedi.
Dude.
One of which he has basically 2 lines in if you count the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, we'll count that.
Anyway,
It's that time again.
It is. It is. Before we go any further, I've been talking about this recently over the last few weeks. The episode of myself on What Does Star Wars Mean to You has dropped officially. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it was a really, really fun conversation. We're in the middle right now of trying to get one of them, either both of them or one of them on War of the Stars sometime in the near future. Hopefully. Have you had a chance to listen to it yet, Garrett?
I have not. I need to, but I'm going to be. We're going to be linking that in the episode. So check down in the video description. You'll find that link to Spotify, and you'll be able to listen to it.
Yeah, definitely. It was, like I said, it was a lot of fun. It was a really, really good conversation. And it really made, they really get you thinking when they're asking these questions about what does Star Wars mean to you, and kind of your Star Wars, my Star Wars history. So you're going to hear my history of Star Wars, my fandom, how I became a Star Wars fan, and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. So, Garrett, why don't you start by taking us out for where people can find you at?
Okay, I will do that here as soon as my computer would stop being a jerk and freeze up. I don't know what it's. I can't do anything.
Oh no.
Okay, there we go. There we go. I can do stuff again.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, here we go. Okay, well, if you guys want to connect with me, you can do so on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books, The Archives of the Sync Ram, and I talk about my other show that I do on YouTube called The Right Way, where we talk book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. I just started season 8 on that last Saturday. I have a new episode dropping this Saturday featuring a new top 10 book recommendations list from a fellow author named Ashley Greathouse, who happened to do the cover art for a few of my books. And then I will also be doing an interview with Canadian sci-fi fantasy author Gabrielle Chamiller. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, this month we're going to be doing a new episode of Snackame in just a couple of weeks. And so be looking forward to that on Feast of Fandoms.
Nice. All right. If you want to get a hold of us here at War of the Stars, there's a few ways you can do that. First is our email. That is warofthestars1@gmail.com. All other social media is at War of the Stars 77. So check us out there. Ask us questions. Give us your insight of what you thought about different episodes and the like. If you want to support the show, Ko-fi.com/War of the Stars or Spreadshirt.com/shop/War of the Stars. So check that out, and you can get pretty cool merch there. What else? Oh, of course, as Garrett mentioned, we are a proud member of Feast of Fandoms. Check out all the shows. Right now, if you're watching, we record on Monday. So if you're watching right now, which I don't know why you would be, MCU Mondays is going on right now. We also got Cantina Happy Hour. Snackame, as Garrett mentioned, Geek Gauntlet, of course, War of the Stars, and Captain, and others too. There's pretty much any fandom you can think of. Feast of Fandoms has a show for it. That is about it. As mentioned, next week we're going to be talking hyperdrives. And as always, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.